Good evening. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I am your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pinellas Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida, from the great Midwest. I have RDV joining me tonight as we are on a special stream a little later than usual with some outside commitments, but one we cannot ignore because, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a banger for you, as people like to say, from across
Banger
the
after
pond.
banger.
And that would be Assassins, or it is, how you say, quite a sexy film, because by this time, if you were living in the 90s and watching films, Antonio Banderas' trajectory was going meteoric here because he's the energy of the movie. And you know what? I
Yeah.
keep getting this mixed up with the movie from the year before or after, The Specialist, which is great in its own right, too. This one's a little more subdued, even though it's a great action film directed by Richard Donner. I'll talk about what doesn't work and what works as we go through some of the scenes and all there too. But I have not seen this in about 40 years. It's been that long. So it was
Yeah.
kind of refreshing watching it from scratch, going, I think I remember this and all that. And I got to tell you, it still holds up pretty well too. I like this film. It's not talked a lot in the Stallone and Banderas catalog. What say you, sir?
Between I actually I like both. I have my so did my dad. So we watched a lot of these movies together. So we had Assassins and we had The Specialists. We had a lot of Stallone movies, we'd watch and stuff, Yes, even the dreaded another movie, Judge Dredd.
We've got Rhinestone to still do,
Yeah.
so don't worry about it. We have
So
plenty more.
this was like a fantastic movie. We just reviewed a couple months ago, reviewed Desperado.
Correct.
Fantastic movie. Well, Antonio Banderas was in Zorro. This was 1996, and just really just coming in the roles, and him playing the bad guy in this was just crazy. I love it, over dramatic, and he's just obsessed, just laughing. One of my favorite scenes in this, and I love this talking about when it comes to New York, are just car chases in general in the 90s. The roads are always wet at nighttime. We have and everything's a blur as they're zooming in traffic and out and stuff.
Mhm.
Literally from the first time he basically they two meet. Oh, it's just the camera angles are great on this. Basically, they're both hired by would you like to play a game, Dr. Faulkner, on the little computers. They get a contract. He goes to hit this guy at a funeral. He's the exclusive billionaire. Just as he's about to hit him, someone shoots him. And he's like, "What the heck?" And Stallone, being the creative guy, he had his hand in the pistol, but he also had his in the
I
sling.
love it.
So it looked like he had a broken arm, but
That's right.
and he had a cutout so he could cock the gun.
I love it.
And yeah, so as he basically starts getting a shootout with Antonio Banderas, Antonio can't see his face, but somebody starts shooting him, so he's hiding behind a gravestone. Then he holds him there until the cops show up. So then the guy, lets him go, and he basically we get to see the old 90s cars in here. So Stallone gets into his car, and he has to wait till all the cars, the ambulance, and everything, all the fire trucks go through first. And he's getting angry. The cop's like, "Hold on there, buddy." And as soon as he's like, "Okay, go." And he peels out of there, the front wheel drive, and he's driving. But just before he can leave, though, we see the shot of Antonio Banderas on the left side of him, looking at him through the back of the car, looking at him, and they see and they kind of know each other now, their face, and so they end up basically he follows him, he finds out he's got a scanner, an old police scanner, and he basically he hears that this two cop squad got tipped over, and another car hits it because Antonio makes an escape. So what does he do? Well, I gotta pick this guy. I want to take him out, because this guy stole my hit.
Mhm.
And he basically ends up getting into a yellow cab and basically knocking the guy out, stealing his cab. And he basically waits for a call because he knows this guy's going to flee the city. He's going to go into an airport. And sure enough, he picks it up. But before he picks him up, though, he hides it says the taxi driver in the face, everything, pulls it down.
ID.
And I just love this whole, just going forward, this scene, and recognizing, hey, it's you. And he's like, oh, Antonio Banderas is like, yeah, it's smart because bulletproof glass. Then he shoots his handgun. And he's like, and Stone's like, what? It's I want to make sure it's American glass.
I thought that was funny too. But here's the thing that surprised me that I'd forgotten about this movie.
Yeah.
Because for the nerds out there that are English majors, assassins is plural. That means more than one assassin, which of course we have two, perhaps three actually.
Yep.
But really, what was great here to me was not the action scenes. I mean, they start off an action scene and then you get to calm down after that big action opening where it's now like a cat and mouse game. And it was
Yes,
such a great contrast between Stallone being the intelligent, I'm
the
getting too
older
old
guy.
for this shit kind of guy,
Yeah.
like wanting one last contract, and Antonio Banderas is the young upstart, and they don't Antonio's character doesn't realize he's being kind of like played a little bit or set up to be
Mhm.
like the new guy, because that's how it always gets. And so you always have the older guy basically trying to like catch their temperament and say, "Hey, you got to understand, there's something bigger than both of us here that's
Yeah.
trying to whatever." And Antonio doesn't care
So
because it's his time. And so this going back and forth, chasing each other is really good stuff too. And the
sure.
only way they can do this successfully is they have a third party, and that's the character that I want to take a minute to talk about with you, sir, because something's not working here with Julianne Moore. I like Julianne Moore. She's acted in some stuff I've really enjoyed. She has a look to her. She's not an unattractive woman. She's playing a character that I don't think was clearly defined in the mid 90s. And we saw this in a lot of films at the time that were trying to introduce the world of hacking
Mhm.
to us on screen. And so she's literally a cat lady that's selling stuff. And I think one of the problems I had with her, and I wanted to see how you thought about
Information
this,
broker,
was
pretty much
when
stealing
we get
stuff.
seen to her and introduced, she's living like in this little quadplex,
Yep.
and she has cameras in all the fucking apartments watching everybody.
Mhm.
That's weird ass shit to me, bro. It just something doesn't sit right because she's
So
too good looking to be Catwoman solo by herself. You know what I'm saying?
here's the thing, though. When you are in that kind of line of work, you're very eccentric. So, and she probably doesn't have. I don't know if she has cable, whatever, but she just treats her neighbors as stuff. And also being someone who's basically like a cybersecurity thing, being afraid of the cops showing up. This gives her an early warning. You know,
I get it.
yeah.
I just don't think they did a great job of making it seem that way because there's some discussion about how she doesn't have a social security number. She's off the grid kind of thing. I understand and appreciate all that. But you're in a room you're watching people privately have arguments with each other and
I
all.
just, well, she's not.
It's not
She's
right.
not a nice person. No,
She's
she
not.
she steals from people. And yeah. So I said, so there was no case for her to be a likable character as far as that. But I thought she did pretty well for what she was.
Yeah,
But,
I don't mind her,
and
but
that's the
the
thing
character is
about
weird.
these Stallone movies early in the 90s. The women were just there to be, dames in distress. Sharon
Well,
Stone's
I mean,
character
it's
was
not
a
he
thing
didn't
too.
write the script, so
Well, here's yeah, Stallone didn't write the script, thank God, because we could have had Stop When
would
My
have
Mom
been
Was
better.
Shoot. Stop When My Mom Was Shoot. He wrote that one. So actually, the interesting about talking about the people who wrote this, Wachowski brothers. I will never call them sisters because they're not girls; they're men. And they wrote this originally, but then they had the other writer come in and basically said, you know what, I don't like this. And same with Richard Donner. They didn't like the fact that Stallone's character wasn't very likable. He was very just unlikable and very much of an asshole, a jerk. So
Right.
Donner wanting to make him more of a nice guy, and he had the other guy, Brian. I think it's Brian Hegswick or something like that. Rewrote the whole entire first act of the movie to make Stallone actually seem like a much nicer guy who just wants to get out of here. He's retiring. Got the new guy who basically looked up to him, but then realized that he can do better because this guy's because he's an idiot. He thinks he's a know-it-all. He thinks he's better and all stuff.
Yeah.
But Stallone's playing him the whole entire time. They even bring up the fact that Stallone, he's like, oh, what you did with you and your buddy, famous Russian, you guys would play chess in the paper and or obituaries. You guys would code stuff, talk back and forth, and then you killed him. It's like, oh man, you're the best. It's like you killed him to become number because you're tired of being number two, so now you're number one. And Stallone's kind of like irritated by that, so he goes to go play chess on the private server he had, and of course someone starts playing against him. Like I said, this movie bombed. In today's world, it was a budget 50. It brought in 80 million worldwide. It considered a flop. Now, I don't think it's a flop. I think it's actually a really good movie. I think a lot of people back then was stupid, snobbish. The problem is we had so many good movies coming out, and I think a lot of people turned their nose up at there and saying they may have seen, I saw Stallone in other movies, and these weren't that great. And they probably didn't know much about Antonio Banderas. There's a lot of people who just waited for the DVD too.
Yeah, and
That
that
was
was
the other
becoming
thing.
the thing. I just
And But here's the thing.
You see Stallone in here, right? Okay, so we've seen him in Rocky. We've seen him in a lot of things. He's had already a great career up to this point. If he's not doing movies, it's fine. He's still active today. But like the opening scene that establishes his character is so fucking powerful, where he's walking with a guy and they're dressed up in business suits out in the middle of of a marsh somewhere like that, and it's raining and wet like that. And the one dude's like a business guy, and he's not yelling, he's not screaming. He understands the weight of it. And this is where I say people underestimate Stallone, I think, honestly, as an actor, not just a hey yo kind of guy. But when he's walking with the guy and he's sitting on the log there, and the guy's like going through the stages of grief really quick, Stallone doesn't even say anything. He just hands the guy a pistol, and the guy shoots himself. I'm like, man, this is pretty good. I'm like, so we're getting some kind of heavy emotional stuff in here, but then it wants to be an action. But then the cat and mouse part to me is still the best. It really is. So Julianne's character just kind of makes it a little off. So I think they had to make him a nice guy or nicer guy or the nicest one.
Stallone had some his 90s were kind of like the movies were kind of iffy. 1992, Stop My Mama Shoot. Bad movie. Comes back Cliffhanger, great movie.
Cliffhanger's so good.
And then we get Demolition Man a year later. Like, what's going on here? And then we're like, oh, this is great. It's never been better. And then he does Specialist, Sharon Stone, which also was a good movie. Even though it was overly negative, the film was a commercial success. And then he does a movie called Judge Dredd, and it. Well, his overseas box office appeal saved the domestic box office disappointment of Dredd, which cost almost $100 million and barely made its budget back, with 113 worldwide.
Dredd wasn't bad.
Dredd was, if you were a fan of the character and stuff, it was garbage. And Rob Schneider being in there was horrendous. Putting in there,
well, I won't argue.
Yeah, that's what ruined it. If you took him out of there, you could have made it straight up like a movie like The Gauntlet with Clint Eastwood, something like that, and it would have worked. So so then Stallone's signed a 3-picture deal with Universal's, so he's making the second star to Jim Carrey to receive $20 million per film, and then so then he does Assassins, which did not do so well, and then he does Daylight, which is okay, but then he does Copland after this, so it was kind of like crazy. Yeah,
it's when people talk Copland, they don't talk Copland. They say, "Oh my gosh, Stallone's fantastic, and he should win another Oscar." Seriously.
So, but getting back to this movie, I thought Julianne Moore was not only was she hot, I thought she was believable. This is 90s. We had Sandra Bullock on the net, movie. It's like this is what we had back then, and then plus anybody could be a hacker back then, and she seemed, she seemed like a good hacker, and for what she did.
Well, what was cool was the whole thing here is that we see that there's some double dipping on these marks. So whoever this mysterious person
we don't know
is working, right?
Yeah.
So after the cat and mouse kind of thing with him, like you mentioned in the cat thing, what happens is Stallone gets a contract to whack her, and so he goes to her place. But at the same time, she's trying to like sell these computer secrets to this group of guys. But what was cool is she had her own room, and she had her own like little robot in the hotel place to air vent, that sort of thing. So you've got this, can he get up there in time? And then Antonio's chasing him, and that's how they meet, and then they end up working together, and it's not bad, and it does jump from action to like drama to like spy game kind of thing or like that. It's not stupid or cute or anything.
So I could see why some people may not like, because they made Stallone being like, oh, he's the cutesy kind of guy, even though he's an assassin. Remember, he kills people for a living. But apparently he has a code. He doesn't kill innocent people. Where we have Antonio Banderas, you get a bullet. Especially you see him coming into the hotel. There's a couple out there making out in the hallway and stuff. Kills both of them. Another person opens the door, shoots them, and then these guys. He goes into the deal where she's supposed to be, because she was smart. She was like 4 rooms over, and she used her little remote control dump truck, which we saw in the beginning.
Yep,
she had, which is the cat was chasing the bull. She uses that. She has a camera on it, and she drives it through the vent. And then they put the money in there, and then she drives it back, and she's got her 500K, whatever. The guys are still in there. They're talking to a laptop, and so she put the money or the thing on the disk and stuff. So then, so then so Antonio comes in there because his pager's in there and stuff, and they're like, whose pager is ringing? Get over here. He's like, oh, it's my pager. and he comes in and kills all 4 guys, kills them out. And meanwhile this is going on, Stallone was downstairs looking at the directory. He hacked to the computer and was looking to see which room should be in. He's like, wow, Chicago Bulls look up a lot of rooms.
Yeah, sure.
That's kind of funny. So, and they're going through all the stuff, and they finally figured out which room she would be in because they had no room service. It was the only one. And so he just as she hears the gunshots and stuff in the other room stuff, she can hear the vent. He comes in at the door and he's like, be quiet. And then he's like, oh, Rath, are you there? And Antonio Banderas is like, just teasing him. And yeah, so they have to make their way out of there. But eventually, because she left her photos in her room because she was looking at the photos of her cat stuff, her bag, she dropped it in a hurry to get her cat. Because here's the thing, if you're going to be doing a deal, don't bring your fucking cat with you. Leave the cat there.
That's the worst.
That was the most annoying thing. So he found out where she lives by looking, because she took a photo of her house with a cat on top of her car and the house in the background. So he finds it, and he goes into, now this is where the cameras come to play again. Remember, she had cameras in all apartments.
Yep.
She's in upstairs and she's just going through and stuff, and she's rich, she's got money and stuff. And then all of a sudden, the guy downstairs who had a fight with his wife or girlfriend, whatever, he goes against the door, he gets shot, and she's like, oh, she gets killed and stuff. And the guy's searching through. Stallone goes downstairs, he was already there, and pretends, because the girlfriend comes back home, and Antonio Banderas does not know that this is the girl. He thinks, and he has to think, oh, I got the disc, he kills her. She tries to flee, and Stallone plays with this. I love this. And this is because we talk about pyrotechnics and stuff, no CG.
Yep.
So Stallone is in there. They're having a little Mexican standoff with a gun, shooting from beside silencers. Stallone's by the stove, pulls the gas thing out, takes some alcohol, pours it on the ground, then slowly backs out, closes the door, and then lights it. And by the time Antonio Banderas isn't hearing him talking back to him, walks over, he sees the gas light, and then he sees a flame. He quick runs, grabs the little card table, puts it in front of him, gets blown up through the window when it explodes. It lands on the ground and somehow is not dead or badly injured. He rolls under the car, so Stallone, who looks out the window where it explodes, and says, oh, he's not there. And I was just like, this is just dumb. Because I'm thinking like he would have been dead. I'm sorry. A piece of something would have went right through that table into him.
No, he wouldn't.
He'd be engulfed in flames still. But yeah, so after that, it's like Stallone's like, oh, I had the disc and stuff, and it's like, who do I, because, and they're staring at a hotel thing, and she asks him, like, did he say anything on the news? He's like, no, because he's like, well, what do you mean they didn't say anything? He's like, what's on this dish? He's like, I don't know. It took me forever to decode it. He's like, the reason they didn't say anything because it's probably CIA or Interpol. She said, because she'd said you intercepted some kind of signal,
yep,
or something to transfer. And so the people want the disc. Of course, she has her own copy. She doesn't tell him about. She has a little thumb drive thing, and he has a hard disk. Remember those?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I had those in high school, middle school too. But yeah. So then he goes to make a deal and drops, gets paid, and it's just like from there, it's just still cat and mouse. Antonio Banderas, I said, a fantastic no matter what he's in, and I guess it's free to watch on Tubi. You're not paying for anything. I still think it's a good movie, but I am curious to see what the Wachowskis' original version would have been, because it sounded like he would have been a much more darker character, not likable, and didn't get two shits about anybody. Because this is the guy who's on his way out, wants to retire, and it ends up having because code protects this woman, and he's tired of being somebody's fucking around with them. He doesn't know who his contact is because they only talk to the computer, and they won't tell him who this Antonio Banderas character, and they won't tell him about this. And it's just like, but it all says like, that's not a way to talk to a lady. And you're like, you watch this movie, it's like, is Julianne Moore playing them both against each other? It's like, who is this? Because if it's a lady on the other end, who is it?
Well, we see, at the very beginning, we see an establishing shot basically of like him taking out his mentor when he's young, right? And that's where they show it in black and white, right?
After Antonio Banderas brings it up. Yeah.
So this is one of those full circle stories where it turns out that they go, I think it's Puerto Rico, to the bank, and they're sitting there, and now instead of him, he's the one that's going for the deposit of money, getting the transfer, and he smartly sets it up where it's going to take several hours. So Antonio Banderas is going to be out. He's using
With a
himself
sniper.
as bait.
Yeah. Yep.
And so Antonio's playing the sniper role in the exact same place that he was at when he shot
Yep.
his mentor back in the day. And of course, it turns out his mentor did not die. And he's the one that's really marking and playing them both off of each other. And so the end here too, they kind of finally realize it and all that. And the guy gets whacked, and you're like, okay. It's not, to me, it was kind of like anticlimactic. Like I didn't really care about the ending. I love the waiting and watching Antonio get nervous and sweat and trying to like pee in a water cup and all this kind of stuff there too while he's watching, because he's figuring out, because that's what this movie is. It's really about the sweating of the vegetables. It's really about the setup of it and the tease and the buildup of the tension of it before really the action.
So the whole thing is they're set up. The whole semblance of him being there, where he killed Nicolai, his former, number one guy, shot him.
Yeah,
and then of course something happens. It's up to you if you want to spoil the ending.
Bulletproof vest. So
yeah, so he survives, and he supposedly kills Bain and Antonio Banderas thing, but we're led to believe that. But then there's a huge plot twist, which if you didn't see this coming from a mile away, I'll let you split if you want to, but I'll leave it open-ended too. But I'll just say that Antonio Banderas does get killed because he uses Julianne Moore's sunglasses reflection, so he can shoot behind him, shoot through his gun, through his jacket, and kill him behind him. And I'll just say that it's a very interesting movie. I like these early movies. I like Pelican Brief. I love The Net, even though it's kind of dorky. Just fantastic movies. Special Ed with Sharon Stone is really cool as well.
The thing that confounded me is this is Richard Donner, Joel Silver, and those names attached to anything in the 80s printed money.
Yep.
So they know what they're doing. So to your point, when it's really kind of bombed, you're like, really? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, and again, my biggest complaint really isn't that big. It's a solid movie. It looks great. I mean, everything about it's wonderful.
Yeah, Joel Silver.
Wow, the 90s must have. The 90s really changed what people were wanting to watch.
Yeah, so the
original put out a movie a year, easy, and
so
even
the original script,
they were just different.
The original script by the Wachowskis was bought and sold for $1 million to producer Joel Silver, who around the same time he bought their script for The Matrix, also for $1 million. And then the script, they said that the script here that we had, final cut we had, was so similar to actually the final film, but more of a developed love story rather than a briefer ending without their character being in there, And Silver offered Richard Donner $10 million to direct, but Donner said the script would be written to tone down the violence and make the central character more sympathetic. Which to me, might be why people didn't like this. If you could make them just both stone cold killers, Because you know what this reminds you of? When Jason Statham does movies like The Mechanic, it kind of had the same kind of tone to it, where you have someone who turns on you and you have to kill them and stuff. You become attached.
Yeah.
What's wrong with revenge? Yeah, I'm just saying, it's like, maybe that's why people didn't like it. But then again, I found out the 90s was just full of a lot of snob people too, who just didn't, they'll pump out movies like Mad Dog Times, and I guarantee you that probably made more money than this probably did.
There's definitely a de-emphasis on sexy women, sexiness, nudity, hardcore violence. Everything was really getting watered down in the 90s. And this movie's not bad, but imagine if this was in the 80s, it would be a little bit more intense, I would think.
It going to gross $30 million in the United States, and then another 53 million worldwide. Yeah. But it says, audiences polled by CinemaScore give the film an average of a grade of B on an A+ to F scale. The film received negative reviews from critics. Film review Tomatoes gave the film an 18% positive rating based on 51 views, and an average of rating of 3.8 out of 10. The script was heavily criticized for being too considered confusing and dull. I have a friend who cannot follow movies whatsoever.
Really?
So, and he asked me to look at a movie, and he's like, "What?" We were watching a movie. He's like, "What? I don't understand." He's like, "I'm thinking, like, were you paying attention? Were you sleeping? How do you not know?" Simple stuff. I think that happens with a lot of films too. With these critics who are professionals, either don't watch the movie or they're not bright. They don't get movies. I thought this movie was not confusing whatsoever.
No.
I thought it was actually clever. The way they did everything was really cool. The car chase in the beginning was fantastic. The cops. Yeah, I thought that was fantastic. Now, do I think it's as good as the one we saw in Live and Die in L.A.?
No.
No.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
here's the thing. The one little thing that I thought made me start liking Julianne Moore's character is and you mentioned how she's smart, and she is, not because she's a hacker, but
No.
because she's got quick thinking. When basically he goes to kill her and they run off together because Antonio's going to kill them, they're in her car and she's driving or whatever like that, and they're trying to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And so she sees a spot where she drives up to in the city where Stallone's in the passenger seat. She's driving, and so she pulls up next to like a wall fence where like she then gets out of the car and just runs off, and he can't because his door is pulled up next to it, so he tries to get out and he can't. And by the time he gets out on the other side, she's gone. I thought that's kind of cool. It's how smart she is.
Well, that
I haven't seen that in the film in a long time.
The high octane chase or scene of the cops chasing him, but also the fact that he's got because Antonio Banderas in the back of the El Cab can't shoot him through the glass, so he's going to reach around and shoot him through the passenger side. Stallone keeps rubbing him up against a bus.
Yeah,
he's like,
that's cool.
I thought that was hilarious. He's like, son of a bitch, and then he loses his rifle. I was like, yeah.
Or even when we have this cat and mouse part that you mentioned already, I'll expound on a little bit where Antonio's in the back and they have the bulletproof glass between them, checking if it's American versus Chinese because he shoots it.
Yeah.
And so, because he was going to kill, Stallone was going to kill him. So they're sitting there and he's trying to get information out of the guy. And Antonio's like, no, but it's at night and they're off on the side of the road, which borders up to where a big soccer field is at. Kids are playing. And he's like,
yeah.
And he says something like, oh, number 15 looking
rather tired. He shoots the ball first. And
he shoots the ball to show him. And I'm like, that's kind of clever, it was good. It was good.
And he's like, drive or whatever, like otherwise, 15.
Drive.
Yeah. And he's like, and then while they're driving again after this, he basically has while the cops are chasing him, Antonio Banderas like, turn down here, and they're going up the hills and get the splash of the front view itself. Nighttime cops chasing him, the helicopter above. And I just laughing my ass off because he's like, he's like, see ya, rolls out the door. He rolls under a semi truck and misses the tires, and just and Stallone's like, oh fuck, what do I gotta do here? And he has to so what is Stallone? How does Stallone get away? When you're in the L cab, he looks at navigation. Oh, you're close to you're close to home. Yep. He pulls in with all the other L cabs and the guy in the helicopter. He's like, we got we lost him.
Yet effective. I will say this. One of the best movies of the 90s to me is The Fugitive.
Yes.
It just works. And I think a lot of people were trying to compare it to something like that with, just thinking on your feet and chase movies.
Here's the thing.
When you do a chase movie, God, they're so fun to watch.
This was Stallone underplaying himself. He wasn't like his normal it's not eccentric, but very enthusiastic, character. Like over dramatic,
quiet, artistic, introspective side of
Stallone. And he had the glasses. I kept thinking Tango and Cash.
I know, right?
Without Cash.
Yeah, good movie, ladies and gentlemen. It's on Tubi right now. Yeah. Check it out. It's definitely worth the watch. And for the ladies, it's got Antonio Banderas. So you want to get a little wet watching them? I can totally understand it. He's got the Latino heat. I'm just saying, he's. I can't tell you how many women are like, oh, hey, what's the movies you saw, blah, blah. Is that the one with Antonio in it? I don't know who you're talking about because I don't care, But he was hot. And he's, like, to your point, he's been good in everything I've seen him in Antonio. He really he oozes natural charisma.
As much as people didn't like Zorro 2, I thought Zorro, the second one, was just as good. Hell, I'd pay right now if Antonio Banderas is like, hey, you want to come back and do a third Zorro movie, but you're training someone else? Fuck yeah. Why not? Zorro's last ride.
Antonio's the kind of guy that you go, hey, if he's in it, it might be worth watching. And Stallone, of course, I always said I'll watch anything with him. That's for sure there too. Anything else?
Like I said, like him and I want to say Johnny Depp, Antonio Banderas, those two are just likable actors, and having him I think it was it Once Upon a Time in Mexico or Mexican or something like that, where all of a sudden I think that's the third one, where Johnny Depp comes in and he almost steals the spotlight, being a blind assassin, You know, and I thought it was a great. Like I said, I love both these characters, and Stallone they did really well too. Stallone wasn't boring or dry. He was respectable. He and he didn't get angry. He wasn't violent. And I said he was like, so maybe some people didn't like that. Maybe like people like Stallone when he was in Demolition Man, the way he acted in that.
Right.
And maybe that could be why this movie didn't do so well. I don't think because honestly, Richard Donner wanted to make it more softer character likable. I think this movie did well in DVD sales because that's the thing. Your movie could just back then in the 90s. Oh, it didn't do so well in theaters. And all of a sudden, a horrible movie like Rocky Horror Picture Show takes off on cult status. And then the VHS and the DVDs and stuff. So, like I said, I'm just saying. But it's free to watch on Tubi TV as always. If you're watching Tubi TV, you want to skip ads and hook your laptop or your computer up to a giant your TV monitor that's also served. You can also make sure that it is able to serve as a PC monitor too, and then you can watch it without ads if you have an ad block on your computer. It is just a fantastic free service. We're using this a lot for when we do our reviews. And there's a lot of old timey stuff on there too. Plus a lot of Western, Japanese, martial arts, all the stuff. It's just fantastic. And I wish we get paid by promoting them, but I love Tubi TV. For those who can't afford like Netflix or don't want to just pay them $20 or whatever, just watch stuff on UTV, man. Tubi TV is great.
Yeah.
And hey, Anthony, we're just ending. So you can watch this on the replay and leave a comment down below what you thought of this. If you're a fan of Assassins, let us know. But we're going to end it right now. We'll be back tomorrow night.
Forever Night, season 2 episode. I think it's 5. It's after the Irish cop who got whacked or did the whacking, I should say, and all that in a great episode. Who is super fan Kevin Dobson let me know in a comment, which I appreciate, was that in real life, this guy who was the guest actor actually married one of the women on the show. The actual lady that shows up a lot too is Nick's assistant who gives them information and stuff like that. I was like, that's kind of cool. So
funny how it happens?
He definitely had a memorable role. So it'll be interesting to see what Le Croix has coming up for us next.
Well, I mean, look at Kevin Sorbo. He married his wife off. She was one of the Senators or the girls that were on Hercules.
When you're Hercules, you can do that,
right?
Good night, everybody.
Later, guys. Thanks for watching.